The Internet, the digital frontier. These are the voyages of the TrekCast crew. Its continuing mission to explore strange new ideas, to seek out new facts and new observations, to boldly go where no Trek fans have gone before.
Hello and welcome to TrekCast, the most dangerous Star Trek podcast on the internet. I am your co-host, David Thomas Ivy. With me, as always,
Jared Benjamin.
And it's
much fanfare.
And it's been a couple weeks. Lots happened. But before we get into all of that, we are TrekCast.com. TrekCast@gmail.com is our email address. Facebook groups /TrekCast is our Facebook group, which is huge, massive, and out of control. And Patreon.com/TrekCast if you want to give us a few bucks.
Yeah, I like money. David likes money too.
And today, this episode of TrekCast brought to you by Vulcan Ale.
Vulcan A, dude.
Oh, I don't know. Are we supposed to drink beer on video?
I don't know. Can we?
Oh, we're gonna.
Let's find out.
It's true. I don't know if you're supposed to do that.
That's all right.
We're drinking alcohol. I don't know if you're supposed to smoke or drink alcohol on. Oh, well, it's root beer, so I guess it won't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's Vulcan A. Vulcans don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Why? That's illogical. Week for last, bad news.
Yes.
Some guy, Anthony.
Anton.
And I don't know. Honestly, I didn't know who it was.
Anton Yelchin.
I mean, I know who he is, but I didn't really quite know.
Just knew he played somebody on Star Trek.
Yeah, he
Chekhov.
was Chekhov. He was the new Chekhov, not Walter Koenig, of course.
No.
Tragic death. He was out checking his mail, and his own car ran him over.
That's horrible.
I mean, when I read it, I was like, they said freak accident, and I was like, well, freak accident. All accidents are kind of freaky, but this was actually freaky. Like his car wasn't in park, and it like smushed him up against his mailbox.
Yeah.
And pinned him there until his neighbors found him.
Ugh.
Like, that's. I'm assuming they'll be like dedicating the new movie to him.
Oh, I think they already announced that.
Oh,
they were going to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I mean, the guy was 27 years old, which is a whole other,
27 Club.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Glad I'm long past that.
We've made it.
we've way made it.
We haven't doubled it yet.
Yeah,
but getting closer.
So that was pretty tragic. So that was that. That was the first bad piece of bad Star Trek news in the last few weeks.
Tell us more, David. Tell us more.
There's a bunch of bad Star Trek news. The second bad piece of Star Trek news was CBS and Paramount issued basically a big kibosh on fan films.
Fan films, yeah.
They issued a guideline, which is smart. They should have done that a long time ago.
So Star Wars has had theirs in place for years.
Yeah, theirs is pretty lenient, I think. I haven't A/B'd it to see what the difference is. But I do know that when reading through this one, which I don't actually have a copy of, but it was like 12, 15 different pieces. A lot of it made a lot of sense. Like you have to say, you can't put Star Trek in the title, right? It had to be like...
It has to be... No, you can, but it has to say a Star Trek fan film.
Right, in plain text. So
you can't call it Star Trek. It just has to be like blah, 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 a Star Trek fan film.
Totally get it. I mean, that completely makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean... What were some of the other ones? Like
you can't drink alcohol or smoke tobacco or have any sexual explicit stuff in it.
Thank God there's no podcast guidelines.
We'd be way off.
We'd be done.
So yeah, they that was in there. Everything kind of made sense to me, except I think it was the number one thing they listed was it can only be 15 minutes per episode, and the one continual story cannot exceed 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now that is rough.
So that basically puts the kibosh on Star Trek Continues.
Everything, right?
New Voyages, yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Because even if you did two 15-minute stories, that's fine, but you can't do another one on that same arc.
Topic or arc,
yeah, that same arc, you have to change it, which... That's really, as a, not that I'm a filmmaker, but if you were, that'd be really hard to play in.
Well, I look at it this way, is that what was going to happen is that it's going to make people innovate and try different, ways of storytelling, which I think, is potential to be even cooler, actually.
You know what's funny? Other than, we'll get to the new series in a second, but they're actually not putting any, it just occurred to me, That's nothing that Star Trek itself hasn't done. They do, they did hour-long episodes, but they're kind of saying, do one story per episode is what they're kind of saying.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's kind of what Star Trek should be anyway. Just you just can't exceed 15 minutes per one, which kind of is okay, I guess, because it's a lot of budget to make more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that means just tell a story, move on, tell a story, move on. Don't tell one huge, long story. It can't exceed a half hour.
There's been so many great Star Wars fan films, so I think, fans of Star Trek Continues, which I am, and New Voyages, they're going to be upset, but make them innovate. They're going to have to tell quicker stories, streamline them, make them better.
Yeah, and that one was a killer. It's going to kill it. And the second was nobody that's ever been in Star Trek.
In or worked for, I believe.
Yeah, it cannot be.
You can't be a writer or director.
That is because isn't like
Renegades.
Isn't like Tupac and all that stuff.
Renegades, yeah.
Okay, and Nichelle Nichols has been in a few. I mean, they get a lot of the ex people, and what that means, what's so ominous about that is that means nobody who's a working actor in Hollywood that's ever been on Star Trek is going to come close to your fan film.
No,
they're going to be like, no way, I'm not going to do it because they'll never work again, and they're going to be in trouble. So. That was basically written right for Tim Russ. Like, hey, stop it, buddy, because he's been in a few. Hertzler, right? He's been in a few.
Yep.
All those guys, they can't do it.
So, what's your take on because obviously the internet's been on fire with people, voting, supporting Axanar,
right,
and hating CBS. Axanar asked for guidelines.
Yeah,
they got them. They don't like them. But hey, they asked for them. They got them.
And I'm sure every other fan film producer is like, "Damn you, Axanar!" I would be.
Yeah.
I'd be like, there's an entire anti-Axanar Facebook page,
really?
which has it's a closed group that has that kind of lists all this and it's a lot of guys from other ones and stuff, and they blame Alec Peters for a lot of this.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like, well, he kind of stepped on the wrong toes, and
I don't remember what episode it was that we did, but I called it. I called it a long time ago. I was like, man, you're stepping on the.
You called it before the lawsuit.
Yeah,
you called it way back before the lawsuit, because he was talking a little too brash.
You can't say things like we're making real Star Trek for real fans.
Yeah,
the minute you say that, you're stepping in a hornet's nest.
Right. It doesn't affect us at all, but I mean, just looking at it from an outside. Now, I do have a little bit of a theory on this that I was kind of working through in my head. And it's going to come across a little mean, but it's
Tell us, David.
I think it's honest.
I like the meanness.
It's the if you're a fan film producer and you just have to do a Star Trek. It's to me, I would, looking at it from an outsider point of view, I would say write something else.
If your story's good enough, just rebrand it. Take the Star Trek out of it.
Look what what's her butt did with Twilight. She wrote Twilight fiction. She just changed it up a little bit and turned it into 50 Shades.
Yeah, and it's super duper successful.
Yes, I mean, she's made $1 billion.
Yeah.
It would be like if I went to you and said, dude, I've got this great fantasy idea. Okay, there's these Smurfs, right? And there's this Gargamel character, and he's trying to eat them, and they go to this castle, and you'd go, whoa, there's already Smurfs.
Yeah, Smurfs.
I go, yeah, I know there is, but I'm writing a different Smurfs, a new.
These Smurfs are like purple.
Wouldn't you just look at me like, well, dude, come up with something new?
Yeah,
I mean, like, I know I'm pissing on everybody's cereal right now, but it's like, dude, write your own science fiction thing. That's basically CBS and Paramount saying, write your own.
That's
thing.
what's going to happen with Axanar, I believe, is that they're going to just take all the Star Trek out of it and make it.
It does come across as pretty unoriginal to me. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we can only do a start. And I understand you love the franchise and you want to play in it. That's great, but it does seem kind of short-sighted. Like, if you really wanted to be a filmmaker or a storyteller at all, well, come up with your own one.
Leave the Star Trek to CBS and Paramount,
right?
And make your own great ideas. I mean,
right. And to cover my tracks, we're just doing commentary.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could. It's not like we could sit here and talk about nothing specific. That would be kind of weird, right? Like
we could.
Yeah. See the clouds today? They were very. I mean, we're not poets. We're not storytellers.
No, we're writing on coattails as well.
Right, but we're not.
We're doing a commentary as opposed to a story or an idea.
It would be like us doing a podcast where we just read the lines from Star Trek episodes. Like, well, come on. I mean, if you're gonna write some, but we're not. We don't pretend to be creative. We're not at all. But
I disagree. I think you're pretty creative.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like, and I'm not a storyteller, but so I when I look at all this, what Paramount and CBS has to do, what Disney Film has to, or Lucasfilm has to do, what everybody has to deal with these people trying to make these fan films. I know, I get it. You need them. They kind of keep the franchise alive. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Because when there is nothing, like there has been huge lulls in Star Wars and in Star Trek, they kind of keep it going in the meantime. So I do get that. I understand that you have to like those guys. But as someone who's like a creative, just write your own thing. I mean, like I said, if I can only come up with a story that involves Smurfs, you'd be like, well, yeah, dude, just come up with some other little creature that lives in the forest.
Yeah. And if your story is you can't, I mean, innovate. You can tell the stories within the timeline, within the constraints that they have given you. I mean, you're just going to have to think about it and rethink what you're doing. Ultimately,
the world is changing. In fact, I went to a big marketing meeting at work. And we had, I wish I could remember the guy's name who did a huge talk. We had to sit through this huge panel. And he's a big internet guy. He's kind of he's like reinvented,
We're huge on the internet.
Well,
I wouldn't be there.
But he's like innovates the internet. And was talking about how things are changing. This is unannounced, by the way. It just occurred to me. And how much different the world is going to be. And how we have to evolve to fit that world. And he called us, he was telling us a story about there was a YouTube video of a 1-year-old kid and an iPad, and it knew how to use the iPad. It was swiping, it was zooming, it was doing all this kind of stuff. And then they gave the little girl a magazine, and she's trying to swipe it and scroll it and starts freaking out, crying.
What?
Because basically, the story was called "A Magazine is an iPad that doesn't work." So, like in this new technology and just the way the world is changing, we're gonna have to rethink the way things are now. Things aren't the way they used to be. So, so if you can't do a 2-hour fan film, which is effing ridiculous that you would want to do a 2-hour fan film. With if you're gonna spend that kind of time, money, and effort, wouldn't you want to do something that's yours? I mean, I just can't wrap my head around it. Anyway, it's like
to me, it's kind of like podcasts that are like 2 or 3 hours long. I mean, unless you're sitting at work for 3 hours and listening, but typically I listen in a car.
Yeah.
So I want a 15 to 20 minute, on my way to.
But I'll call this the Metallica episode because I'm probably mention them later too. But it would be like let's start a band. Let's buy all the equipment. About $20,000 worth of equipment. Let's rent a rehearsal space for, $12 an hour. Let's record an album, which is going to cost, I don't know, another $50,000. We'll press the album, we'll press CDs, and we'll sell it. And we're just going to redo all the Metallica songs. You're like, well, that's a lot of effort to put into something that it's not yours. Yeah. I mean, why would you put that much time, effort, and money into something?
Why would you just
you love Metallica, but just make your own band.
Try to do something original.
Yeah, right. Like write your own music. I mean, I get it. You love Metallica, and you wish they would write more songs. But
it's kind of funny. You think about this for a second. Okay, everybody, a lot of people I know, poo-poo on Hollywood. They're like, there's no original ideas. All they're doing is remaking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that are complaining about that are the ones probably complaining about why they can't make the same exact thing that they want to make.
That's really funny. It's like I would love to like nail someone on that. Someone that goes, I'm not gonna pick on Alec, but like just anybody like that makes fan films, and they go, "Oh, did you hear they're remaking RoboCop? Can't think of anything new." It's like, dude, didn't you just spend $1,000 of your own money on a fan film?
One of our Facebook users posted a topic for a show, and maybe we'll use it one day. But they said, picture your favorite Star Trek episode and try imagining it with a different crew.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, why don't you just why do Star Trek, but do like other films and imagine what they would be with Star Trek characters?
Oh, that's good too. But that takes effort, though. But
like the movie Tomorrowland, I've said it multiple times that would be a fantastic Star Trek episode or a movie for that matter. If you replaced all the characters with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
Well, you have to pick a movie people have seen, like Jaws or something, or 2001. Well, I mean, you want to get out of space, so that'd be like Jaws. You go, okay, yeah, it's Kirk, McCoy, and Scotty. on a boat chasing a shark. I mean, that would actually, or that you could do that.
Yeah, could you? That would be awesome. That'd be actually pretty good. Can you imagine them hit a shark in space and they're on like a shuttlecraft?
Or it's you taking the movie and it's just taking the plot of the movie and putting it in the Star Trek universe.
That could be the next TrekCast. Create your own adventure.
I was thinking the other way around, where you take the cast of Star Trek and put them in Jaws. But you're saying take Jaws' story and put it in Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Yeah, there's some crystalline entity running around and it's like it's attacking this tourist on Risa. And they got to, oh man, it would be great.
Hey, wait a second. They already did that. Dang it. Just blew it, Dave. You just blew it for me.
So you brought up an interesting point earlier about is the new show. Oh wait, we'll get to that in a second. Let's continue with the bad Star Trek news. Rihanna, bad.
I thought when I saw that, I woke up in the morning and I saw that and. The first thing that came to my mind was I just wanted to go, ha, 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 ha. The maniacal laugh, because I know people's heads were exploding everywhere. At the end of Kingsman, it was like you see Rihanna play and all of a sudden its head's exploding everywhere.
Yeah, that's bad news. That was bad. I posted, I just wrote on TrekCast, Beastie Boys, I'm sorry. I have forsaken you. Because we thought the Beastie Boys were bad. No.
Well, what's funny is Beastie Boys are Star Trek fans. I don't know if all of them are, but they were Star Trek fans or are Star Trek fans. I found out at the 50th anniversary fan event that Rihanna's a big Star Trek fan as well.
But no one cares. I mean, it was
I realize that, but like we talked the other day about how it's I know it's going to piss fans off, and it did, and it will.
Yeah.
But they're simply trying to market to a different audience. That's all they're doing. And you can't blame them for trying to make more money because that's what they're in the business of doing. They're in the business of making money.
Right.
They're not in the business of appeasing me and you because they already know that you and I are going to go see the movie.
Right.
And we're going to pay to see it.
And even if they go so far as to piss us off, like, I mean, they keep pushing pretty hard. Like Rihanna's pushing pretty hard.
Next thing you know, they'll recast Kirk and they'll call him Hitler, and sell it as Star Trek. Here's Hitler.
You could push us, but I doubt you could push Star Trek fans too far where we won't go. I mean, some fans maybe if you're really hardcore, but you'd have to push pretty hard.
Well, even our buddy Vernon, I mean, he paid to see the movie, the last one, but walked out at a certain point.
Yeah,
but they still got his money.
But in fact, that's what I said. I knew Metallica would come up again because we were at the bar last night and we were discussing this week's show. And I was like, putting Rihanna in Star. I get it. It would be like, and Metallica can do a rap album. It's like, they'd make more money, but that's not what they do.
Do you actually think the song will be in the movie?
It'll probably be in the credits.
Yeah, maybe at the very end.
Yeah, like it's not going to be like.
What'll happen is they'll cut. End of film, they'll do the theme song like they did in the last two films.
Right. And then once the credits start rolling.
Once that's done, and they'll start playing.
Or it'll be in some bar or something. I mean, like they, I don't know what they played in, it was just some house music in the bar in the first, in 2009, but it might be like that, like it's playing in the background.
Yeah, possibly.
Again, it's, I have a theory on all of this, and I'm going to get to it in a bit, but I want to, because it kind of ties into what we wanted to talk about, which was the movie. Basically, and I have a theory on movies and TVs and how things have changed as far as movies and television go. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned a really good point where is the TV show coming up. I mean, I don't mean to steal your thunder. This was
no.
You said this to me. Is that really, I don't know if you call it our last hope, but it was like, are we really pinning, I mean, we are pinning a lot on this. Like, if this doesn't work.
If this Star Trek series doesn't work, that's like a death knell for Star Trek. I mean, it'll still exist as books and comics and, and potentially other series eventually. But Star Trek as we know it, if this series does not work, it's over.
It really well, and when you brought that up, and it's something we had just talked about, and I think I said it back to you that, and with the strict guidelines on fan films, so now you've get done away with those pretty
killed
much.
Fan films, and then potentially you've put Rihanna in Star Trek, so you're trying to kill the movie franchise.
And if that show doesn't work, you're right. It's going to be.
It's kind of like what I said to you was like the new Muppet series that came out last year.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
TVGuide.com did a poll, or I don't remember what the poll was, but it was like top 5 TV shows that people want to bring back. surprisingly, number one was not Star Trek. It was the Muppets. They brought the Muppets back. One episode, and everybody's like, "This ain't my Muppets."
Right. And I liked the new Muppets.
I loved it too,
idea.
and it didn't succeed. So ABC pulled the plug. So I don't think we'll ever see another Muppets TV series. I mean, maybe a long time from now, maybe 20 years from now, potentially, when the nostalgia wave goes back into full effect again.
Well, and my beloved Smurfs, they did 2 terrible movies, and we will probably never see Smurfs again. I mean, you can't.
I hope not. I hate the Smurfs.
See, I love the Smurfs. I think.
Are you a Snort guy?
No, that was a cheap ripoff. That is not. And no Snorks, no shirt tails, no none of that crap. Smurfs.
Snorks were like the mermaid equivalent of.
They
Smurfs.
were just because the Smurfs were Belgian, right? Like P.O. was. I used to think he was French, but it turns out I think he was Austrian or Belgian. Yeah, Belgian. And it was a comic that he drew, and it was really cute. And
I thought the Snorks was by the same guy.
No, it was just like NBC's answer.
It was like Target's a super successful brand, and then Kmart comes out with their knockoff brand.
Or it's more like, and I don't know if this has ever happened, but it'd be more like, Voltron or some Japanese comic is
or some fan film deciding to make their own.
Almost, but it'd be almost like more like, okay, Voltron or one of those Battle Beyond the Stars or whatever those are called, and then an American company said, "Oh, we need to capitalize on this," and made our own.
I love the new Voltron. By the way, have you seen it?
I didn't even know there was one.
Have you seen the original Voltron?
Oh yeah.
There's a new one on Netflix, and it is so good, Dave.
I've seen the logo, and I just thought it was an old one.
It is so good.
But anyway, I do have not to brony level, but I am a Smurf fan almost to a creepy level. Like I grew up on them.
I've been in his room. He has the little Smurf village.
I have that Smurfette with a hole.
And
I'm not
gonna say what's being done to Smurfette, but I'm just saying, disturbing.
I like Handy Smurf better. But anyway, I grew up when I was a little kid. Smurfs were, and to me, they were that perfect. They were fantasy. They would go to like villages, and there was like, it was a medieval world. I was such a huge fan of that. I still am.
I like the Littles more. Remember the Littles?
I remember the name, the Littles.
They were little people that lived in the walls, and nobody knew they existed.
I know
there's a number of books that came out.
Okay, I'm thinking of Fraggle Rock, which I was speaking of Muppets.
Fraggle Rock, yeah, exactly.
Hollywood, why haven't you done Fraggle Rock
or Dark Crystal?
Yeah, Dark Crystal.
Labyrinth.
Yeah, but no,
it's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
Okay, but that's going to lead me to what I was. I have a topic on that, but
so back to the
show, and all the weight of every nerd in the world is on this show.
I mean, I really doubt it's going to fail. I mean, Star Trek fans are innovators, and they're forward thinkers. I know a lot of people complain about the paying for it, but the people that are complaining about paying for it aren't going to pay for it anyway. They're going to just pirate it.
Yeah, it's $6.
So, like, you putting that on Facebook saying, I can't get it, this is horrible, you're not even going to pay for it anyway. So what are you complaining about?
Well, I can't wrap my head around $6. I'm sorry. I will admit to the public that I am so successful that $6 is like $6 to me. I mean, I'm sorry if you don't have $6. Star Trek, you need to get.
That's another point that I like.
You need to get out of Star Trek world and go figure your life out, because it's $6 a month. I mean, come on.
You see these people that will go to Starbucks every single day and spend $6 on a latte, sometimes twice. Right. But then they're on Facebook saying, "I'm not paying for Star Trek."
Right. Or the pack of cigarettes is $6. 2 beers, if you're a beer is $6.
We live in Nevada. I mean, for God's sakes, you could put $20 in slot machines like they're nothing, but you don't want to pay $6.
A Corona is $9 at the Cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be Tony Robbins here. But if you can't afford $6 a month, but if you can't afford $6, you really need to rethink things. I mean, well, I know none of our audience is not a problem because we're an internet show, which means you have a computer or a smartphone or whatever. So $6 is nothing to you. But I mean, and that's what I can't understand. If you're writing on Facebook that $6 is too much, it's like, how do you have a computer? Like, how were you even online?
Exactly.
I mean, what does your internet cost a month? I mean, even if it's another $6 on top of all it's $6. It's not 60. If it was 60, I'd go, well, I would still do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But $6. I mean, it's like that's $1 more than $5. Mm-hmm. I mean, anyway. So I can't.
And plus, I don't know for a fact, but they're gonna pull Star Trek from other streaming services, and then they will put it all on CBS All Access.
Oh, probably.
I mean, I'm sure they'll rotate some of them in and out of Netflix because they want to attract that base to move over.
And depending on what their license is with Netflix and Amazon and all that too. But I like what you said that everything is hinging on this, and this is not an anti-Abrams statement in the slightest. But I think the worst thing for this show is these new 3 movies. If these 3, if 09, Into Darkness and Beyond had never happened, and then they just did a show in 2017, it would have been huge immediately. But I think because
there's going to be some trepidation.
Yeah, and not from the fans. I think from just the general audience that's going, oh, another Star Trek thing. Is that the dumb thing I see my kids want to see? You know,
and plus you also have to say, like to the people that do love these new movies, when they tune into this TV series, they're going to be like, this isn't my Star Trek.
Yeah, it's gonna work in both ways negatively. Like the people that aren't paying attention are going to be like, oh, another Star Trek. Well, then we did. Didn't you make me go watch that in last summer? Say, oh, this is a different. It's already too much. It's already too confusing.
Yeah.
And then the people who like the new movies, all 8 of you, you included,
8 billion,
are gonna go. Well, this isn't. Where's hunky Chris Pine and where's Zoe Zelda?
I had this guy telling me this the other day, and I know you're not going to agree with me, but this guy wasn't even a Star Trek fan. He said, I looked on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes to look at the rankings for the Star Trek movies, and he's like, I don't get all the hate because these 2 movies are higher ranked than majority of Star Trek.
Right.
So I'm like, I know exactly. I know you're like, wait a second.
Well,
but,
no, I mean, I don't. I just don't. It's irrelevant to me. I don't really. Why my mic seems really. I want it to be higher, not like that. But he went. Okay, there we go. The beer's making me numb.
Just get some helium.
Yeah, maybe. So here.
Oh, did you hear that? Also, did you hear? CBS officially gave the new movies the official title of the Kelvin timeline.
Okay, yeah, I missed whatever that meant. I saw. Our great friends at TrekNews.net were talking about it. Everybody was posting this. It was about 2 weeks ago, a week ago. What does all this mean? Or it's the death of the JJ universe, or I don't know what that means.
No, it's basically just saying, okay, for the original timeline, our timeline.
Original meaning?
Original series.
Next Generation.
Our Star Trek.
Okay.
Not your daddy's Star Trek, our Star Trek.
No.
Or your daddy's Star Trek,
Star
but
Trek,
not this teenage crap that's going on.
Okay.
It's basically just saying, okay, so in the original timeline, the anomaly that occurred was called the Kelvin timeline, and they know that it exists through temporal mechanics and whatnot.
Okay.
So what? And I think part of the deal with it is because of Star Trek Online. They're doing this big Agents of Yesterday event where it's the original series. It's for the 50th anniversary.
Okay.
And part of the storyline is something that happens where the Kelvin timeline occurs.
Okay.
So in the game, you will go over to that timeline and interact somehow.
Oh.
I haven't played it yet, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to come out on Xbox or PS4.
And now the new show is going to be not in that's in Father's timeline.
Yeah.
That's in your Father's Star Trek timeline.
Yeah.
Our time. The Deep Space Nine, Voyager.
Yeah, I thought we had heard previously that it was going to be set after Undiscovered Country. That's not 100% now.
Oh.
But I guess it is still. Also, I had heard that it was going to be an anthology series. And because it was all over the internet. I totally should believe everything that I read on the internet. But now they're saying it's not an anthology series. It's going to be one complete arc, 13 episodes.
Okay.
And then they haven't really announced what it's going to be yet.
I'm getting kind of sick of those. But that's all. I mean,
Game of Thrones. I mean, you love Game of Thrones.
That's why. I mean, it's like there's only so many. As a person, there's only so many things you can follow that are doing these huge arcs at one time. Mm-hmm. You're going to throw another one at it? It's like, oh, okay, so where were we? Okay, Cersei was in the... Oh, no, this is Star Trek. I mean,
I have a hard time following Game of Thrones, but that being said, I've started going back and rewatching the whole series again.
So that leads me to what... And this is I think, kind of leads me to this and tying our hopes into this TV show and why I think the TV show is going to be good. And I know you like to hear that, but I think the TV show is going to rule. Here's why. So I'm.
Tell me more, Dave.
Yes. So I was reading. There's a book out called Sleepless in Hollywood, and it's basically talking about what's happened in Hollywood with the global market and how big the global market has gotten.
Oh, yeah.
And this clicked with me like I've never been clicked before. You know when the whole world just kind of goes and just pops right into place?
Not even your chiropractor?
Yeah, it's exactly like that, though. You're just like, whoa, the world makes sense to me now. In fact, even a comic book girl was talking about it last week.
Who's comic book girl?
She's a girl on the internet. Anyway.
I like her already.
So this book is about what the global market has happened. I made notes, I left some work, but I'm going to remember them. So
Google Docs.
The first movie to release in China was The Fugitive in 1994.
The U.S.
Fugitive. First
The
U.S.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, the Harrison
Okay.
Ford. So there was a ban on American everything.
Well,
right?
of course.
And The Fugitive came out, and they put it over there. And it was huge. And so from then on, they released about 20 movies a year in China, and now they're up to 34. But the point is, the Chinese market went from in 2002 it was about 20% of the U.S. market. Now it's 80%. It's 80-20. And I'm sorry, it's 70-30. They expect by 2020 it's going to be 80-20. So so a studio makes 80% of its money.
Well, you see that in films
China.
all over the place now.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you even Star Trek's going to have. I guarantee Star Trek's going to have a Chinese character. I guarantee you.
Well, here's exactly where I'm going with it. So, like,
Sorry, did I just ruin it for you?
No. Warcraft, for instance, a huge hit in China.
There was not a single Chinese person in that movie.
No, they don't care if there's Chinese people in it. But here's what's happened. This explains, like I said, but the whole world kind of clicked into place. This is why we have remakes, because China missed the Ghostbusters. They missed RoboCop. They missed all of that. The studios, their job is to make money. They're not there to make art. That is, we have to get our heads out of that. When I go to work every day, and I'm a marketing guy at a huge Las Vegas company, and my job first and foremost is not to get fired. That is the number one thing I think all the time is don't screw this up and get fired. So the second thing I want to do is make more money. The third thing I want to do, and maybe like the 30th down the list, is do some really cool thing. That is actually innovative or whatever. But that's way down the line. The first thing is keep my job and make money. So if you're an executive in Hollywood, your job is to keep your job and make money. So you can go, okay, well, here comes this script. It's called whatever, and but who cares? We're going to remake the Flintstones. It's going to sell like gangbusters in
China
and in Russia. Russia is also a huge market.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a bonus, and I'm going to keep my job. What do you think they're going to do? That's what they're doing. And now what also is happening here, that explains the remakes, because China's never seen this stuff. So in Americans, we're so stupid. We're like, why do they keep doing this? Well, because there's a billion people in the world that have never seen Ghostbusters before, and we can't re-release it because that's dumb. They won't show it. We need to make a new one, and here's what even makes it worse or better, depending on how you want to look at it.
If you're a Chinese, it's great because you get to experience all this stuff never before.
And here's the thing. Because it's China and Russia and everywhere else, first off, they're reading the movie. So it's in a little tangent, I don't like subtitles. And I've mentioned it before. I hate subtitles. I know that makes all my artsy friends upset because they're like, don't you know all the best movies are foreign? It's like, no, dude, they're not. But I'm not going to read a movie because the second I'm reading a movie, acting is out.
Yep.
Because
you're not paying attention to the performance.
And I don't know what his performance is. I don't even know. Did he say that word in a certain way or something? I don't know. I don't even know what word he said. Okay. I'm down here reading the stupid words. So acting is gone. Lighting is gone. All the things that make a movie a movie. I'm like, and then he said, so. But the main thing is you lose character. You lose acting. A perfect example of this is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones isn't in China. Will never be in China ever. For multiple,
so much upheaval, and like they don't like that.
Well, and it's too complex. Now this is the rub with this whole new foreign market with movies, and why movies nowadays are kind of dumb or dumbed down, at least as far according to Will Smith. He did an interview where he talked about Wild Wild West and how it didn't work here, but it worked over there because they never heard of Wild Wild West. They didn't know what that was. they went, oh, this is cool. And yeah, there's explosions and dumb jokes. But, when you're
giant mechanical spiders.
Yeah, but when you're a different culture, and I don't even mean just reading a different language. I mean, you're not the Western culture. This is China might as well be Mars. It's a different culture. I don't mean Chinese.
You don't get it. There's no way we're gonna get it because we're not. Part
Yeah, and I don't mean Chinese people. I mean people from China. You know what I mean? It's like I don't care what I'm not saying what race you are, but if you were born and raised in China, you've got a different culture. So a lot of the nuances and subtleties and things that we can do in a story and the way actors interact is all lost when you're reading it and you're not from this culture. So you don't understand. So Game of Thrones is a perfect example. Littlefinger would not work in China.
Why is that?
Well, because to understand Littlefinger is to A, not understand him, B, to kind of go, is he lying? Is he, the way he's a wordsmith and the way he does.
The sensibilities are very Western.
Yes, and half the time I think he's lying and all this kind of. But if you were just reading this and it's a completely foreign culture, you wouldn't understand any of it, right? It would make no sense. It's way too complex. So what Hollywood has discovered is we remake a movie, we show them something they've never seen before, like Transformers or Jurassic Park. They've never seen Jurassic Park. So we can't re-give them Jurassic Park. We'll make them a new one that's just like the old one. But we'll make...
And it became one of the highest grossing films of all
And we'll
time.
kind of dumb it down because you can't make it very complex because it won't translate into 50 different languages.
Gotcha.
But so they will do tons of explosions and they'll do poop jokes because that is universally accepted as entertainment.
It's funny and
everybody gets it. But you couldn't show them Animal House. They would have no idea what anybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's just not that culture.
I get. It's all clicking into place. I get it.
Me
David.
too. It clicked in. So Animal House is a good example. If you remade Animal House now.
So does that make you as a person, when you watch a movie like, let's say, Star Trek Beyond coming soon, will you look at it in that sense? Will you say, I don't appreciate this for what it's not, but I get what it is?
Well, that's where I'm going. So follow me. That's exactly where I'm going. So let's say I just made this up, but Animal House. Okay, if they're going to remake it. They're going to remake it, and we're all going to go, no! We're all going to do that. And then what's going to happen? We're all going to go see it, and it's going to be dumb. It won't have any of the charm and any of that wit that the original one had, as is the Ghostbusters. It's going to be the same thing. But Animal House will even be worse. It's going to be a bunch of frat boys. It'll be more like American Pie or something. It's going to be really... There's gonna be like boobs and poop jokes and that and we're all gonna be like, I hate this. But now I'm gonna go, that's because they didn't make it for you.
Yeah.
You already have Animal House. You already have it. China doesn't have it. And they make more money over there than they make from your dumb lazy ass without $6 that can afford to buy CBS.com. And so they didn't make it for you. They made it for where they're going to make more money. And to be honest, if I was an executive, I would do the same thing. In fact, I would pitch Animal House tomorrow. I can't believe I'm saying this. I would walk into like, hey JB, I got a good one for you, Animal House, and we'll get Seth Rogen, of course, and then we'll get the William DeFranco guy. We'll get
Franco.
him, James Franco. We'll get the Thor dude.
Because they're all internationally recognized.
Yep, and they're going to be an Animal House, and there's going to be lots of poop jokes and pee jokes, and it's going to be great. And he's going to smash the guitar over the guy's head just like in the original, and it'll be really stupid. And we're going to make $1 trillion in China and Russia.
Yeah, I saw Warcraft made what was it, the first weekend made like 40 million here,
and
but it made like 200 million in China and in other regions.
And that's when I've kind of figured it out. Like that's what they're doing. And that doesn't make me any happier about it.
They have so many. We've talked about it on the show before. Where they have it's marketing, it's science. They don't look at the actual. It's not the actual. Hey, I like that. It's not the actual doing. It's the science behind it.
I knocked over my Deep Space Nine poster.
It's kind of like cooking. Like chefs know how to marry flavors together.
Right, but if you're selling it to China who's never had pizza, you're not going to give them some crazy eggplant parmesan thing. You're going to give them cheese pizza because they're not going to even wrap their heads around the crazy pizza. Now we're doing like shrimp Alfredo with gopher knuckles and coriander.
You're scaring the shit out of me, David. Like basically, you're saying that the Star Trek this new series is going to be the dumbest Star Trek series ever.
Okay, no. I'm gonna turn it. Finish. Hear me out.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why when you watch Star Trek Into Darkness or Star Trek 09, yeah, it's not the original Star Trek because it's not made for us. It's got lots of explosions and fast space stuff. And basically, Star Trek Beyond, I'll tell you the plot right now. And it's from the eyes of a person living in Russia or China. I don't know. There was space guys and they got captured and then they fought the bad guys and then they beat them and then they escaped. And it was action and fun. That's all it's going to be. That's all. And now us Americans, sophisticated Americans who like our very fancy movies, are all going to be like, this is swill. But
you're making it sound like French wine connoisseurs.
We kind of are because we're like, this is not my Star Trek that I'm used to.
How dare you put this Cabernet in this glass?
Yes.
This glass is meant for white wine.
Exactly. So, and we're all going to be like, that was dumb. But it's like, well, no, it was dumb, but it wasn't dumb. It was simple because it had to translate to all these to where the money is because it's not here. 2016 is going to be the lowest grossing movie year since 1916. It's there was
in the United States.
And it was
not in the world because in the world it'll be
no. The world is huge, but in the United States, and because 1916 it was only like here in like 3 countries in Europe. It was like France and England and here, but it's going to be the lowest grossing, adjusted for inflation since 1916. So that no one's going to the movies. I mean, but here they're not. So if I'm an exec, I go, I'm not making the movies for slobbering Americans. I'm going to make them for slobbering Chinese people because they're all going to go to the movie.
They're all going to go see it.
Yeah, and they're going to buy it, and it's going to be great. So here's the good news. And this is all theory. But here's the good news.
Well, a Chinese company bought Legendary, which we love.
I love that. They've yet to make a bad. Yeah, I think they've yet to make a bad one that I know of.
But Chinese company owns a controlling stake in Legendary.
So and that's a good example. 300, one of my favorite movies. Again, that works great in China. It works great. It's simple. There's not a lot going on, not a lot of dialogue, great visual effects. It totally works. Here's the good news. As movies have gotten dumber because of this, or simpler, if you want to be not so mean, TV has gotten way smarter. TV has upped its game by tenfold. It's completely switched. You go back to like the 1960s, you've got really dumb TV shows and really smart movies. I mean, that's just the way it was, right? I mean, that was movies were for the sophisticated. We go out on a Saturday night, we watch a fancy movie, we smoke our cigarettes in the theater, we have a glass of wine, we watch, whatever. But TV,
I remember watching Star Wars and seeing the clouds of smoke.
Yeah, but TV was, Beverly Hillbillies, and it was dumb.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island. But now it's completely switched because of this. It's completely flip-flopped. So now what's happened is, for instance, in 1965, I want to say 4 or 5, I don't know what the year was. Anyway, let's just take a Western on TV, couple. There was like Have Gun Will Travel. There's like, Bonanza, whatever. The dumb, stupid Westerns, right? In the movie theaters, you've got The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, you've got like sophisticated, this is a serious-ass Western movie. Now, let's take that same scenario, switch it to 2016. You're going to make The Good, Bad, and the Ugly TV show. It will rule. It'll be more like Deadwood for sure. It's going to be like serious, gritty. It'll probably be grittier and more serious than the movie was, which is one of my favorite movies. But it would be like Deadwood. Like, it would be seriously a good TV show. If you made The Good, Bad, and the Ugly remake, give them time, they will. It'll be Young Guns. It'll be
Magnificent Seven's coming out.
Yeah, it'll be stupid. It's going to be dumb because movies are now dumb and TV is now super smart. It's completely switched from where it was. I mean, it's just a working theory, but I think anytime you're going to
when there's a demand, there's supply and demand, basically.
When in TV, the audience has gotten way more sophisticated. We can handle Sopranos, Deadwood, Game of Thrones, even Walking Dead and Orange is the New Black and
Preacher.
We can Preacher. All the
which is made by Seth Rogen, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's supposed to be good. What's the one Alicia likes? It's the 7th most violent TV show ever made.
Oh, it's on Showtime.
Banshee.
And
we can handle this. But if you make the movie version of that, it's goofy as hell.
It won't sell.
Well, they just make it goofy because it's got to be translated. It's got to be gentrified so that you could play it all over the world, remake your money.
Market.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of and now take all this and apply that to Star Trek, and you go, okay, well, the movies I think are goofy, But the TV show, I bet, is going to be badass because they can do that for TV. They can make. It won't be Game of Thrones, but I bet it's going to be closer to Game of Thrones than Into Darkness was. You know what I mean? Like as far as serious,
and
well written.
We can look at the audience and proudly say, "I told you so."
You know, I mean, it's well, it's not even that. It's just I think you're able to do more on television now, and I think that's because of on demand. Yeah. I think because Netflix doesn't care. I think
Netflix is like our, you and I think we would both agree Netflix is like the ultimate way to do things now because you're not reliant on advertisers. You're reliant on your subscriber
Netflix
base.
Is Uber.
Yeah.
It's Uber. It's I want what I want when I want it, and I don't need the man for it. And that's what society is going to be becoming more of. Is I don't need the big company. I don't need the big corporation. I don't need to go to Walmart to get a ride. I can just call some dude with a car.
That's another thing that I should bring up is that, all the people that are complaining about not paying for CBS All Access, these people are subscribing to Netflix. So why wouldn't CBS want a slice of that pie?
No, they're a little late. They're kind of like
they're fourth or fifth on the shopping block.
they should have jumped on this a lot sooner.
Yeah,
and I'm sure no one anticipated this. Mm-hmm. Blockbuster should have done this because I remember when Netflix came out as a DVD rental place. Mm-hmm. Where you just went online, ordered a movie, and in a couple of days it showed up. A year later, Blockbuster, who still had all their brick and mortar, came up with the same idea. And it was fine. I actually liked them better, so I was using Blockbuster. But then Netflix and they even had the name Netflix, which is like perfect for what they were going to do. They jumped into this on demand. Now they're unstoppable. They're just like I
bought stock in Netflix when they announced. Remember when they announced they were going to spin off their disc business and everybody pooed it and said, "Oh my gosh, they're dead. This company's over." Yeah. So I bought stock for like I think it was like $19.
Well, yeah, we didn't know at the time, and now everything's going to be on demand. But I think that's changed, and that's why I think TV shows can be
the
cooler.
world's going to be on demand,
and CBS isn't going to care. With the new Star Trek, if Procter & Gamble doesn't want to advertise on the show, they're not going to care. Mm-hmm. Look, as long as we got subscribers, I don't give a crap if any of our sponsors like this. We don't care. We're making enough Game of Thrones. They don't care about appeasing.
Subscriber base.
Yeah, their subscriber. They don't care about appeasing the Procter & Gamble or Chevy Motor. They don't care. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to make it good. So that's why I think TV has gotten good. Movies have all dumbed down. Which gives me high hopes for the TV show because they don't have to be goofy. They can be serious and dark. They can challenge us, which movies are not allowed to do. Again, not because I used to think it's because they just hated us, but now I realize, no, they're selling it to people that aren't us. And people that are brilliant, I mean, we're talking about China, they're smart. But they're not in our culture, so you got to make it a little easier for them to.
There still are other films that are good, like that are just made for smaller audiences.
But they only released, it was 20.
It's the big Hollywood, tentpole films that are.
Yeah, it's 34 films a year. That's not many. It used to be 20 up until I think a year or so ago. So they had to pick and choose which ones are going to go. Mm-hmm. And if it's not one of those, okay, we could try to make it good. But if it's going to be one of those, it's gotta work in China. It's got to work in Russia.
Well, it just lends credence to the fact that I've been saying for years that we'll all be speaking Chinese eventually.
Or they're going to speak English. I mean, I think
maybe it'll be both. It'll be like Spanglish.
Maybe
Chinese English.
I think it'd be that's why that was brilliant. That was the language in Blade Runner, wasn't it? It was like Chinese, Spanish, and English. Yeah, it was that was a very very cool thing. But you couldn't Blade Runner.
They're remaking that. Ugh.
No, they're not.
Well, they're making a sequel.
And here's what I'm afraid of. It's going to be made for the Chinese market, which means poop jokes, big explosions, and not a very deep plot. Imagine Blade Runner coming out today as it did before. Oh, let's just finish it there. Okay, forget the good, bad, and the ugly. Blade Runner TV show, I guarantee would be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. It would be like a sci-fi Game of Thrones. It would be badass. It would be this huge story with all these plot points and these great characters. There'd be boobies everywhere. There'd be blood everywhere. It would be amazing. If HBO did Blade Runner, the series.
They're doing Westworld.
No, that's going to be great too.
That's going to be awesome.
And say they did, but they so if they do Blade Runner, the show, awesome. Blade Runner, the movie, crap. I guarantee it, because it's not going to be made for that. It's going to be made for the market. I mean, I could be wrong about all this. It's just a theory, but it's reading that book and I got all kind of inspired about it. But I think that's so Blade Runner the show, good. Blade Runner the movie, bad. Star Trek the show, good. Star Trek the movie, bad. I think that's just the world we live in right now. Trekcast the show, great. Every other thing, not so great. Speaking of that, we're trekcast.com, trekcast@gmail.com, Facebook groups /Trekcast, and Patreon. And
which is the most important of those.
Because if I can get $6 a month, I can afford CBS.
Oh,